Hello, my friends. Welcome
Hi.
episode my Transformative Learning Experience podcast. And today is a very special event. I have Datuk Yong Soo Heong, the former CEO of Malaysian National News Agency, or better known as Bernama. But before I go on, a couple of weeks ago, I read an article from Harvard Business Review by Professor Sidney Filkinston. And the title was very interesting. The best leaders are great teachers. And immediately I recall Datuk Yong, who I had the privilege to meet April last year for my Train the Trainer program. So Datuk, on behalf of entire audience, I would like to say a big thanks. I know how busy you are for taking some time to have a conversation like you said. Let's goreng sikit, share your experience. And I'm sure your words of wisdom will be valuable for all of us, Datuk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, my friend, what we are going to do is I'm going to have some conversation with Dato, especially on the subject related to leadership and why leaders should find some time to look at talent development as a priority. This was the essence of the article shared by Professor Sid. Dato, before we go on,
Yeah.
perhaps you can help us share your leadership journey, Dato, I'm sure for decades.
Okay. I don't know whether I can say it's a leadership journey and you label it, but somehow over the years I have been jettisoned to this eventually this particular leadership role. Then I suppose that I have to assume that leadership role as you go along in your career. So when I was first started, I was at the crossroads actually. Should I actually go into playing badminton and then make a nickname for myself, or should I, you know, find a job and then try to do both things? So there I was as a young reporter for newspaper in Penang, and I was also playing badminton competitively, and then I got selected to play in a national tournament in Kuala Lumpur. And actually, I was very happy about it because it's not that easy that you go and get represent your state and then you are going to play among the best in the country. So when I saw and I met my editor, the editor in chief, he said, "Yong, I actually employ you to become a reporter, not a badminton player. So you know where your priority lies, you see." So I suppose that really shook me up. And there I was uh, deciding that I should hone my skills in journalism because it was also a time that is very important to be able to cari makan, you know. And so there, I decided to set my sights on journalism. Yeah. And from the Straits Echo newspaper in Penang, I eventually moved to join Bernama, the National News Agency. When I applied to join the first time, I wasn't selected. But the second time, I was selected for the interview, and and there I was joining them as a cadet, and I moved up the ranks because I told myself, you know, if you're already here, you got to you got to do your best and not muck around. So that's the journey from this from badminton and growing towards journalism lah. Yeah. So I find that in journalism, besides being able to write, you have to listen properly, listen attentively. And in this career, I got to meet some of the best people in the world. So that was where I thought I pick up a little here and there and managed to actually, find my own 2 feet in the job. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I saw your post uh, in a palace when Dulia Mahamulia gave some recognition or appreciation to our Thomas Cup heroes.
Oh
That was
yeah.
months ago. Yeah. That was amazing.
That one- Yeah, that one is also you sometimes in life you get lucky. And I consider myself extremely lucky as well because I have good friends. Then they say, since I have dabbled in sports writing before, you come along, because those guys were actually very what do you call that? Very into sports. One of them had actually in order to get a very good story, he actually woke up around 3 a.m. to run with Muhammad Ali at the Selangor Turf Club racecourse, now where it is the KLCC Twin Towers. So these are diehard sports reporters, and they said, since you had been one of us, so why not you come along and join the Tuanku? And you also knew the Thomas Cuppers. So there I got very privileged, got to join to see the king. Yeah, so that was an interesting moment. One of the high points in life, so to speak.
Of course. Wonderful. Congratulations, Dato.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yep. You were saying, your journey from a badminton player, then went into reporting and journalism and grew in your career to be a CEO of a news agency. Uh, Perhaps if you can take some time to reflect, can you share some leaders who influenced your career and life significantly with your formal and informal training, Dato? The message I would like to explore here from your vast experience is how leaders can be teachers.
Okay, so you see, during in the 1970s, uh, entry into tertiary institutions were very, very, very difficult. If you do not uh, get a very good grades, and since I was not a great student, and I was also trying to dabble into badminton, so it's not very easy. So then I thought that writing would be the way forward for me. Okay, that's one. So although after having joined Bernama for about uh, a year or two, I got an offer to become a teacher, teacher's training. And then I thought, oh, teacher's training would not be as I wouldn't be as exciting as journalism. So I didn't accept the offer to become a teacher. And there was this fear about being transferred to far flung places, So I rather be a city boy, that kind of thing. So, and then I was very close to my parents, and I was being the only child. I can't bear to leave them. See, but anyway, from uh the 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 job of being a reporter is very, very important, in the sense that you have to be able to extract the best out of the person you are talking to, in order to able to write a great story, right? So in that interaction between me and that person whom I am interviewing, it's very important to gain the trust of that person. So in order to gain the trust of the person, you would be one has got to be having great decorum, politeness, so that you don't come across as somebody who is rude, crude, and then he or she doesn't feel the need to talk to you. So because it is the time that you are actually seeking, it is his wisdom that you are seeking. So why put him the in a tough spot? So it is these skills that you meet people, the interaction with people who are already leaders themselves, that I was able to conduct myself properly. And these are things that I managed to be to together and to conduct myself as a leader subsequently. So like for myself, I get to speak to a lot of business leaders because I was in the business section of Bernama. So there I get to meet uh, CEOs or deputies CEOs or almost on the daily basis on the working day on the working week. You see, so that these are things that you actually uh, able to look at them, how they conduct themselves, people whom you actually meet in the corporate sector, one. Then you have people in the uh, government sector. But if you ask me, people who are very really inspiring, I can think about a few. Uh, for me, I like the way how people speak very well so that they can able to project. I can never forget how Margaret Thatcher spoke. I thought she was one of the best speakers in the world, in terms of her knowledge, in terms of her diction, in terms of her delivery. That is something amazing. So in the business of news reporting, I had the privilege of meeting some of the best people to be able to conduct themselves well. For example, I was able to speak to somebody in the sense the late Olivia Newton-John, and she was an cancer survivor advocate. So there she was, cancer survivor, try also do in between rehearsals and talking to me about her project in Melbourne, how she was doing things to help people who have been afflicted with cancer. So seeing her talk, how she conducted herself, these are some of the things that you actually learn from leaders. These are very interesting personalities who come by to Malaysia, or sometimes we will go overseas and then we will be able to see other leaders conduct themselves, how they conduct themselves. So it is a great learning experience because we don't stop learning. As a human being, you don't stop learning because there's always something new for you to in the brain, in the mind. So like Albert Einstein did say that wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of lifelong attempt to acquire it, to acquire the wisdom. So it is there on a daily basis. How do you acquire things? And I meet a lot of people in various types of industries. You get aviation, you get transportation, uh, food production. So they are leaders themselves, and so it's great. So subsequently, when I honed my skill, I became the editor in chief of Bernama in 2007, and subsequently becoming uh, the the chief executives of Bernama. So I thought that, wait, this is something that, the buck stops here. You have to be a good example to the people you lead. So at one time, I was actually leading almost 1,000 people in Bernama, and my my motto was, how do I inspire them to become uh, better than what they were previously? You see, so then I could see the fruits of my labor, because even now, 8 or 9 years after I left, whenever I go to Bernama, with the on a number of occasions here and there, I get good reception from my former colleagues, because I had been there for them, to be able to inspire them, to able to be a mentor, so that they become better. Because I have this thing about people. Maybe I was a bit sarcastic when I told them, and when you are here, you are just you just ensure that you write well, or you present your news on TV well, or you speak well on TV, on radio. I am not asking you to dance or sing. So forget about the frivolous matters, right? Re- Right? Talk, or and like be able to present well. So that's how I came along get along with my colleagues. Yeah.
Wonderful, Dato. Wonderful. What a privilege to learn and listen from leaders like Margaret Thatcher and many other people you met, from the CEOs, from the deputy CEOs, and great
Mm,
business leaders, entertainers, and so
yeah.
on. That's pretty
Yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah.
For
If
now,
if it's on a
Dato.
local front, yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry. If it's on a local front, then you get people who are really great people who can really speak, like Tan Sri Rafida Aziz. You work along with people like Tan Sri Raisyati, that sort of thing. So you get to pick up a few things here and there, and you see and you meet people like uh, Tun type Mahmud. They have their own specialty in their own field. So you can pick up, and then you'll be able to translate them when the time comes. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
No
Yeah.
problem. My pleasure, Dato. I mean, for leaders who are listening to us, and current and also future leaders, the saying, yeah, the most valuable resources anybody can have is talent. So, what will be your words of wisdom or advice or suggestions to leaders on how, like what you did, inspire your team in Bernama, thousand over people, to become better version of themselves, and you can see the fruits of result even after you retire? What would be your advice? How to be a, a great leader, to be a good teacher, at direct, indirect teaching?
Mm, Sometimes, when you're talking about talent discovery, become the inspiring, because, okay, I give you an example. What I saw, in a hotel uh, in Ipoh some days ago. Um, like, and I saw that there is plenty of potential in this person who is, I think, either a waiter or a supervisor. He had actually walked towards a row of walked past a table, and someone had spilled water onto it onto the floor, and he nearly slipped, and he nearly slipped, but he managed to balance, and then very quickly what he did was he took a mop, and then he came back within 2 minutes, and he mopped the floor, and he actually put a sign, wet floor, you know, and then all within less than 5 minutes of the uh, incident. So, this is the kind of uh, proactiveness that you want to see in a person. So when you see such persons in within your organization, then you see that these are the people who actually have the what do you call it? Have the gumption or have uh, uh, the wisdom to be able to say, "Hey, I'm near this scene of the accident or whatever. If I don't do it, if I wait for someone else, then it is going to be it could turn into something bad, you know. Yeah, this is the word I was trying to grapple with is initiative. So when you have people with lots of initiative, these are the people you should nurture. Okay, although there are people who are laggards, in terms of laggards, then you have to, you have to go and do a different tack. But as for people who are full of initiative, and these are the people who actually inspire you because, these are the people who actually motivate you to even teach them even more because you find that these are the people who will be the ones that can accelerate uh, the learning process and become better rather than people who are actually sitting right at the back and hoping that you don't talk to them like that. So talent management is actually something that you have to spot by looking, by speaking, and then employing those tactics to inspire them, giving them uh, giving them meaningful conversations that can actually boost their confidence because sometimes they might have not gone to that area before. They have not b- experienced that sort of situation before, and you have. So some of the things that you cannot learn from books, you have to tell them, "Oh, this is what happened." So if you were to face this situation, then this is what you can do in order to get out of that sticky situation. So these uh, uh, these are things that leaders should be able to recognize almost immediately in the people whom they are in charge of. Yeah.
Yes. So look at the characteristics like initiative, proactive, and find opportunity to groom them. That thanks, Dato. And in your experience again,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sure.
Because life is something about not never stop learning. So you so the best thing a human being can do is to go and have another human being. Then you have better human beings in this world, right?
Wonderful. Well said. Very well said. Help somebody. Um, and it was a great honor to have you in our TTT class, Dato. In fact, my colleagues and my administrator, she was so worried when she saw the long list of Dato CEOs, top people, and I told Shuada, let's enjoy them. I'm sure we can learn a lot from all these leaders, including you. Perhaps you can tell us what inspired you to join the train, and or was it, you know, uh, and if there is, what are one or two key lesson or key takeaway from that journey that I had long list why that I learned from all of you, but what was some of the key takeaway for you, if there's any?
First of all, I must say that those people who have got titles ahead of their names in journalism, they are usually a bunch of okay people, unlike certain people who think have got their titles and then they feel differently. It's like they are working on air. And we in journalism, the datos in the journalism world do not behave like them. That one is, so you can be assured that we are just like any other persons, and because our training and our experience, we have gone through the mill. We have seen a lot of people in our lives. So there's no need to behave differently once you have a title ahead of your name. I think most of the people in journalism are like that. So what made me want to be in the training program conducted by you was because I see that it was a very useful program, and if with the accreditation or the certification that have been facilitated by you, I believe that whenever we tell other people that we have gone through the HRD Corp kind of training, and tend to get uh, you tend to get a very high level of respect because you have gone through the mill in this particular area. So me and my colleagues who were in that training program were actually very grateful to you for showing us the ropes, putting us in that time frame to in order to qualify as accredited trainer. And because we reckon that towards the end of our careers, there is something which we can contribute back to society, especially in the journalism world or in the public relations world. But if we do not have that kind of pillar, if I can use the word is pillar, or the kind of uh, whole HOLD through HRD Corp, then we might not stand on firm ground. We might not be accorded the kind of respect that we have. So when there was opportunity for us to be trained by you in under the TTT program, we just said that it was a great idea because uh, we it's it's something that uh, is part of the situation where we don't stop learning, and once we learn something useful from you, we can apply to help others as well. That was what we uh, all of us, if I might say, are very very grateful that we were armed with that particular accreditation, and we are looking forward for the certification. Then we can actually uh, mentor or tutor with confidence because we have gone through your class, and we are not trying we are not uh, people who have not gone through your curriculum, and we find that your curriculum has been very thorough in enabling us to know how can we actually do it so effectively without even being in Kuala Lumpur, and you did it from Lumut. That was very astounding. So that has given, this using online training. When people say these type of things, then after having learned from you, I thought that it's very enlightening because last week I met someone who actually shuttles between uh, San Francisco, Orlando, Dubai, and Kerala. So he can afford to be in various places, and but he he can never fail his students, let down his students because he's always online. Because wherever he will be, he is able to conduct the courses. So you have actually shown us the way how it is done, and when other people speak about online training, then we nod our heads and then say, yeah lah, our Mahaguru was Dr. Preba.
Thank you very much, Dato. I appreciate the kind words, and I had wonderful learning experience too. Uh, Having said that, Dato, we have seen many leaders. are super busy with day-to-day operation and strategies and meetings and board meetings and as attending to guests, visitors, etc. So leaders are always very, very busy. What would be your suggestion to these leaders for them to focus on talent development? Uh, because at the end of the day, that is the biggest asset. What can leaders do to be people like you and some of our friends from the journalism industry who took an effort to become a trainer, a formal trainer? And what would be your suggestions to these busy leaders who find challenging to get time to do that?
Oh, that's a terrific question, difficult question to answer, and telling other people what to do. But I suppose when you say leaders, these people would have attained a certain measure of success or accomplishment, and it's time that you give back to society. Probably some people do not know how to do so because they see uh, themselves as being successful human beings by 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 the account of their wealth or their position, and they go on, trying to do meeting people uh, here and there, trying to do deals and all that. But how much can you take with you if you think about the end of life? How much can you take? You can't take all those wealth with you. So I suppose it will come. These people will have to realize that there is much more than wealth and position. There is much more. There are much more rewards in terms of giving back to society in training more people to be better people, better leaders, so that the world will be a better place. And in this regard, I reckon that um, yes, people may be busy, but there are certain times in their work week or in that 7 days which they are free, right? And I suppose if they really find the time, just 3 hours per week or 3 hours per fortnight, it adds up to a lot of hours in imparting their knowledge and wisdom to people who may not be able to see their kind of experience that they have gone through. So I would hope that more leaders will find time, if it's not a Sunday, because they want to spend time with the family, perhaps uh, Saturday will be a great day. And with the internet kind of facilities, they can do Zoom. They can do Zoom. They can do your the Microsoft Teams and or other methods that they can actually teach without being having to go to certain places physically. So I suppose it all boils down to find, finding time. Say maybe 3 hours should be sufficient. Maybe 3 hours in every 2 weeks. That that 3 hours that people sit down and listen attentively will be very, very rewarding because they are able to impart that knowledge, that how they have managed to circumvent or navigate those pitfalls and become successful at the end of the day. I suppose every human being wants to be successful, but how do you actually become one? And how do you actually avoid the pitfalls? This can only happen if you are able to listen from those people who already gone through it all, and That's it. This is where leaders can be useful by giving their time back to society.
Love that. Giving back to the time, giving back time to the society, and they have gone through a lot to be where they are, and that's a good opportunity. And I really like when you said how much or what can you take with you. If you recall, during our TTT, we did talk about a book called Die Empty. Listening to you, uh, you know, reminds me of the words of wisdom by the author Todd Henry, who says, whatever experience we have, we must try our best to unleash it. And I guess among the best way to do that is to conduct training, teaching, like what you mentioned, mentoring, even a couple of hours per month. That will be a great opportunity for us to give back and mold the future society. Dato, it has been a real pleasure listening to you. And my friends, I hope words of wisdom from Dato will help us to explore how leaders can find some time to develop future leaders by sharing their wisdom. So, on behalf of all our listeners here, Dato, we wish you all the best in your teaching journey, in sharing your wisdom, and it has been a great privilege to be part of your preparation to be a trainer. And I believe your experience will be very, very valuable for all of us, Dato. Thank you very much.
Thank you, doctor. I hope I have been coherent. Sorry, I may sound incoherent or long-winded. I apologize for that. So I hope that this particular session has been useful for you and your people who are watching this. Thank you. Good night.